Welcome back to Ageless Mind and Body, where we explore the journey of aging with grace, awareness, and compassion. Today, we're talking about something deeply important but often overlooked. As our loved ones grow older, there may come a time when their bodies and minds begin to show subtle signs that the end of life could be approaching. These signs aren't always obvious, and they're rarely talked about openly. But recognizing them can help us offer the right support, start meaningful conversations, and ensure peace and comfort in their final chapter. In this video, we'll share 5 key signs that may indicate an elderly person is in their final year. From changes in appetite and energy to shifts in personality or breathing patterns, these are gentle but powerful signals that should not be ignored. This isn't about fear, it's about understanding. Because with understanding comes compassion, connection, and the chance to be truly present. So take a deep breath, grab a warm cup of tea, and let's walk through this together, with heart, with care, and with dignity. 1. Noticeable weight loss. One of the earliest and most commonly overlooked signs that an elderly person may be nearing the end of life is noticeable, unexplained weight loss. While weight changes can occur naturally with age, a sudden or steady drop in body weight, particularly when it's not related to a change in diet or activity level, can be a subtle yet powerful indicator of declining health. For many families, this change can be confusing or even dismissed as just getting older, but it's worth paying closer attention to. In older adults, weight loss is often linked to a decrease in appetite. This can happen for a variety of reasons, sometimes as simple as food no longer tasting the same, or meals feeling like a chore rather than a pleasure. As the body ages, the senses of taste and smell may diminish, making eating less enjoyable. Digestion may also slow down, leading to feelings of fullness after only a few bites. But it can go deeper than that. Weight loss can also be a result of difficulty swallowing, which is more common than people think in elderly individuals. Known as dysphagia, this condition can make eating uncomfortable or even frightening, particularly if it leads to coughing, choking, or a fear of aspiration. In other cases, weight loss is tied to underlying medical conditions, some of which may already be diagnosed and others that remain hidden. Chronic illnesses like cancer, heart failure, advanced kidney disease, or dementia can all lead to reduced appetite, muscle wasting, and eventual weight loss. As the body begins to slow down in the final year of life, it often starts to prioritize energy for essential functions, leaving less fuel for digestion, movement, and maintenance of muscle mass. As a result, individuals may begin to shrink before our eyes, and clothing may hang loosely where it once fit snugly. What makes this change particularly emotional is not just the physical transformation, but what it may symbolize. For loved ones, seeing an aging parent, partner, or a grandparent lose noticeable weight can feel like watching them slowly disappear. It's a reminder that their body is no longer functioning the way it once did, and that time may be shorter than we'd like to admit. But while this realization is painful, it can also be a gift. Recognizing significant weight loss as a possible sign of life's final phase allows us to shift our focus from fixing to supporting. It offers an opportunity to provide comfort rather than correction, and to lean into moments of presence rather than searching for a cure. It's important to approach this change with gentleness, both toward your loved one and yourself. This is not about calorie counts or meal plans, it's about tuning in. If you notice they're eating less, becoming weaker, or their clothes no longer fit as they once did, consider having an open, honest conversation with their healthcare provider. They can help you understand whether the weight loss is part of a broader decline and guide you through next steps in care and support. Above all, remember that this time, though heavy, also holds the potential for deep connection, reflection, and love. In noticing the signs and choosing to respond with empathy, you're not just witnessing a change, you're honoring a life. 2. Extreme fatigue and weakness. Another profound yet often misunderstood sign that an elderly person may be approaching their final year is the presence of extreme fatigue and physical weakness. This isn't just about being tired after a long day or needing a little extra rest. It's a deep, persistent exhaustion that affects nearly every aspect of daily life. You may begin to notice that your loved one is sleeping more often during the day, taking longer naps, or struggling to stay awake during conversations or meals. When awake, they may appear physically slower, less alert, or too tired to engage in activities they once enjoyed. Fatigue of this kind goes beyond the normal tiredness we associate with aging. In the final stages of life, the body begins to conserve energy as it slowly starts to shut down systems that are not critical to survival. The metabolism slows the heart and lungs may not function as efficiently, and basic movements like walking to the kitchen, getting dressed, or even sitting up can feel draining. As a result, the individual may spend most of the day in bed or in a favorite chair, often needing assistance for even the simplest tasks. This kind of weakness isn't always physical alone. It can also have a cognitive and emotional component. You might notice that your loved one finds it difficult to concentrate, loses interest in conversations, or withdraws from social interactions altogether. They may seem overwhelmed by choices or unable to make small decisions they once handled easily. Mental and emotional fatigue often accompany physical decline, creating a cycle where the individual no longer has the energy to engage, which in turn leads to further weakness and isolation. For caregivers and family members, witnessing this change can be heartbreaking. It's painful to see someone who was once active and vibrant now struggling to lift a fork or hold a conversation. But it's important to remember that this fatigue is not a sign of laziness, depression, or giving up. It's a natural response of the body preparing for rest. It's the body's way of quietly telling us that it needs more peace, more stillness, and less demand. Understanding this can help shift the way we care for our loved ones. Instead of pushing them to keep moving or stay active, we can begin to focus on comfort, dignity, and meaningful moments of connection. A quiet afternoon spent holding hands, listening to favorite music, or simply sitting together in silence can become far more valuable than any attempt to maintain a routine that no longer fits their needs. If you notice your loved one experiencing persistent fatigue and increasing weakness, it's important to speak with a healthcare provider. Not only can they help assess what's happening physically, but they can also offer guidance on how to support your loved one's energy levels, manage symptoms, and ensure quality of life during this sensitive time. Above all, remember that slowing down is not the same as giving up. In many ways, it's a return to the essentials, a time to rest, reflect, and be surrounded by love. As caregivers, our greatest gift is to meet that slowing pace with patience and presence, walking gently alongside those we love in their most vulnerable moments. 3. Increased cognitive confusion or withdrawal. As the body ages and nears its final stages, changes don't just occur physically, they also affect the mind. One of the more emotional and often distressing signs that a person may be entering their final year of life is increased cognitive confusion or noticeable social withdrawal. These changes can appear slowly, at first often mistaken for simple forgetfulness or senior moments, but over time they may become more pronounced and harder to ignore. You might begin to notice that your loved one forgets familiar names, misplaces items more frequently, or seems confused about where they are, what day it is, or even what time of year it might be. Disorientation can appear in small moments, like getting lost in a familiar neighborhood, or more seriously, when they forget how to do tasks they once managed with ease. In some cases, they may struggle to follow conversations, repeat themselves often, or suddenly become overwhelmed in environments that were once comfortable. These cognitive shifts can be disheartening, especially when they affect someone you've always known to be sharp, articulate, or independent. And while some degree of memory loss is normal, with aging significant confusion, especially when paired with changes in personality or behavior, can be a sign that the brain is slowing down as part of the body's natural decline. Alongside confusion, many elderly individuals begin to withdraw from social settings. This can be subtle at first. Perhaps they stop answering the phone, avoid visits, or seem less interested in participating in family gatherings. Over time, the withdrawal may deepen. They may prefer to spend more time alone, speak less, or avoid eye contact. Even when surrounded by loved ones, they might appear emotionally distant or disconnected, as if they are slowly turning inward. This kind of withdrawal is not always caused by sadness or depression. In many cases, it's a natural and even protective response. As the end of life approaches, the outside world may start to feel overwhelming. Mental processing takes more energy, and social interaction can become tiring or confusing. Sometimes withdrawing is the body and mind's way of conserving strength and focusing inward for the journey ahead. For caregivers and family members, this can be one of the most painful shifts to witness. It's natural to want to pull them back, to re-engage them in conversation, or to bring back the person they once were. But in these moments, the most compassionate thing we can do is meet them where they are. If they want quiet, offer quiet. If they want company, offer presence without pressure. Just being there, holding their hand, sitting beside them, or gently sharing a familiar story can offer more comfort than words ever could. If you begin to notice increasing cognitive confusion or social withdrawal, it's important to consult with a healthcare professional. They can help determine whether these symptoms are part of a known condition, like dementia or Alzheimer's, or if they are related to a broader end-of-life process. Either way, understanding what's happening allows you to respond with empathy and care. In these quiet, often uncertain moments, what matters most is connection, not perfection. Even when words are lost or conversations fade, love still speaks clearly. Your presence, your gentleness, your willingness to listen without judgment, all of these become the language of comfort in the final chapter of life. 4. Changes in breathing patterns. As the body begins to approach its final stages, one of the most noticeable and often startling changes can be in the way a person breathes. While it's easy to overlook breathing until something feels off, paying attention to these subtle patterns can give us important insight into where a loved one is in their journey. You may begin to notice irregularities in their breathing, long pauses between breaths, shallow or rapid inhalations, or breaths that sound labored or strained. Sometimes the rhythm may seem unpredictable, with periods of normal breathing, followed by sudden slowing, or even moments where it seems like they stop breathing altogether before starting again. This phenomenon, known medically as Cheney-Stokes respiration, is common in individuals nearing the end of life. To a caregiver or family member, it can be unsettling or even frightening, but it is a natural part of the body's gradual shutdown. These breathing changes happen because the body no longer needs as much oxygen as it once did. The heart and lungs begin to work less efficiently, and the brain's respiratory centers may become less responsive. In some cases, breathing may become noisier due to a buildup of secretions that the person is no longer strong enough to clear. This sound, often called the death rattle, can be alarming, but it's usually not painful or distressing for the person experiencing it. In fact, many people at this stage are no longer fully aware of these sensations. It's important for family members to understand that these shifts in breathing are not signs of suffering, but rather indications that the body is in its natural process of letting go. For caregivers, it can be helpful to stay calm and focus on comfort measures. Keeping the person's head elevated, maintaining a peaceful environment, and staying close, sometimes just offering a reassuring touch or a quiet presence, can make a tremendous difference. This is also a time when letting go of expectations can bring peace. There's no right way to breathe in these final days or hours. The body is doing what it knows how to do, gently preparing for rest. If you find yourself feeling anxious or unsure, don't hesitate to reach out to a hospice nurse or doctor for guidance. They can explain what's happening and help you understand what your loved one may be experiencing. Above all, remember, these changes in breathing are not just medical events, they are moments of transition. Though they may seem quiet or small, they hold deep emotional and spiritual weight. Your presence during this time, calm, loving, and accepting, can be the most comforting thing of all. 5. Loss of interest in daily life. One of the quieter but deeply telling signs that an elderly person may be nearing the end of life is a gradual loss of interest in the things that once brought them joy or purpose. It often begins subtly. A favorite hobby gets set aside. Phone calls go unanswered. The daily routines that once defined their days, watering the plants, reading the newspaper, watching a favorite show, begin to fade away. At first, it might seem like a mood or a phase, but over time the disconnection becomes more persistent. This withdrawal from daily life isn't always about sadness, and it's not necessarily depression. In many cases, it's a natural shift that occurs as energy wanes and the body begins to prioritize rest over activity. The things that once felt meaningful may now feel too tiring, irrelevant, or emotionally distant. You may notice that your loved one no longer shows interest in their appearance, stops grooming themselves, or forgets to eat meals they once enjoyed. Socially, they may become quieter or more inward, preferring solitude over conversation, even with the people they love most. This kind of disengagement can be heartbreaking to witness, especially for close family members and caregivers. It can feel like you're slowly losing the person before they're physically gone. But in many ways, this withdrawal can be a way of preparing emotionally, mentally, and spiritually for the final transition. The person may be letting go of attachments to this world in their own time and in their own way. It's also important to understand that this change in engagement isn't something that needs to be fixed. While it's natural to want to encourage activity, offer stimulation, or try to lift their spirits, sometimes what's needed most is acceptance and presence. Instead of asking them to return to who they were, we can shift our focus to simply being with them as they are right here in this moment. That might mean sitting in silence, offering a warm blanket, playing soft music, or simply holding their hand. That said, if you're ever unsure whether this disinterest is part of the dying process or a treatable issue like depression or pain, don't hesitate to talk with a healthcare provider. Sometimes subtle changes can be managed or eased with medical support, and other times they're simply part of the body and soul's natural way of stepping back. What's most important during this time is honoring the person's experience. If they no longer want to talk much, that's okay. If they don't want visitors, it doesn't mean they don't love them. It may simply mean they're seeking quiet. And if they do choose to open up, listen fully and gently. Sometimes in these last phases of life, even brief moments of connection can carry deep emotional weight. Ultimately, the loss of interest in daily life is not just an ending. It can be a turning inward, a soft retreat from the noise of the world towards something more peaceful. As loved ones and caregivers, our role is not to resist that process, but to walk beside it with love, patience, and understanding. As we reach the end of this video, we hope these signs have helped you better understand the subtle ways the body and mind prepare for life's final chapter. While each person's journey is unique, recognizing these changes can offer clarity, compassion, and an opportunity to be truly present. This is not about fearing death, it's about honoring life, even as it begins to wind down. By noticing the shifts in appetite, energy, cognition, breathing, and interest in daily life, we can create space for comfort, connection, and dignity. If you're supporting a loved one through this time, know that your presence matters more than you may realize. Sometimes, just sitting quietly beside them can speak louder than words. Thank you for joining us today. If this video helped you in any way, please consider liking, subscribing, or sharing it with someone who might need it. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself and those you love.